Welcome, Jim Acosta.
Hi, Molly. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. We come to our reflecting pool correspondent, Jim
Yes,
Acosta. But
I'm
first, before we get to that
yes.
late-breaking reflecting pool news, we got to talk about Donald Trump's Vietnam. He
Yeah.
calls it his Vietnam. I'm not calling it his Vietnam.
Well,
He's
at least
calling
he
it his.
finally has one now, I guess you could say, but where do we start with this? How many times has
Let
he ended the war with Iran? I mean, we're now at
so
like 40,
So,
45
so
times, something like that.
we are talking about something though. More recently, he talked to Greg Kelly. You
Yeah.
may remember Greg Kelly because he's the son of Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Police Chief Commissioner Ray Kelly.
Mhm.
Again, a Nepo baby myself, no shade to having a famous parent. So Greg Kelly says in this interview, Donald, how are you? And Trump says, I'm fine. I feel good. The country's doing really well. We are attacking Iran right now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would be laughable if it weren't so serious. And, he has painted himself into a corner here, obviously. There was some talk that he was gonna give some primetime address to the country on Thursday night, but he wasn't gonna do it on Iran, he was gonna do it on election integrity. And then there was some reporting that he might throw some dashes of Iran into it. Something tells me he's been phoning it in on Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. And it's becoming abundantly clear now that he's gotten himself trapped in a quagmire. And the
Yeah.
Iranians are just going to keep playing him over and over again like a violin that, has only one chord. And he's in a jam right now. And I don't see, like, we're going to, and what was he saying the other day? That if Iran assassinates him, there are instructions that have been given to completely obliterate Iran. I mean, this is like apocalypse now stuff. Is he staring up at the ceiling fan, on a nightly basis? What's happening? It's very bizarre.
My favorite part of the story is that he tried to buy them off
Right.
because that's worked with various people in his life before. So he sort of says, we're going to give you pallets of cash and you can have this and you can have that. And it turns out that the Ayatollah doesn't really give a fuck.
No, I mean, what part of, being called the great Satan for 40 years does he not understand, or 50 years or whatever it
Yeah.
is? I mean, I was talking to, Rahm Emanuel about this. Actually, I had him on my podcast, and I asked him, I said, is it true it's been reported that basically the Israelis have gone to every president and made the same pitch
Yeah.
about Iran
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
back like
Yeah.
2 generations? He said, "Yes, basically that's what happened." And then
Yeah.
Trump took the
Then
bait, you know?
that is an amazing, by the way, I would like to just for 2 seconds, Rahm Emanuel, who is very conservative and probably won't ever be president, but is
Yeah.
actually very saying some very interesting and important stuff. And he went to
Yeah.
Israel and he said to them, like, you guys, this isn't, we can't do this anymore, which
Yeah, he
was
called it
pretty,
nutty. He called it
yeah,
nutty on my podcast, and he said even more, really tough stuff down at I think it was Tel Aviv University or something
yeah.
like that. And it's important that he's saying that. It's a very important voice in this
And,
moment on that issue.
yes, and it's very and Ram comes from, his father was one of the sort of fundamental Zionist people who started Israel when Israel was very different than it's been under Netanyahu. And
Oh, yeah.
so, but to have him say this stuff is very meaningful.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think that, will Netanyahu listen? Probably not. He's not in a place where he wants to listen to anybody, not even Donald Trump. I mean, Trump is the most exasperated person on earth when it comes to Netanyahu, and he gave Netanyahu everything that he wanted.
Right.
So, that just should I mean, it's now a lesson burned in the brains of both, political parties in this country right now that Netanyahu is not somebody you wanna, follow into a foxhole at this point. Yeah, I mean, if people are saying that this is now Trump's forever war, you hate to use that kind of terminology because, the price that has been paid by this country over the years in places, after the war on terror. But it's hard to see a way out of this. It really is hard.
Yeah. I mean, I also
Yeah.
think like there are two things happening here, right? Which is Trump has fenced himself in. The Ayatollah, like they're sort of trying to figure out what it will take to get them to reopen the straits, which were open before this war. And it looks like I'm not sure there's an easy answer here. And what's going to happen as becomes clearer and clearer that the straits are not going to reopen is that gas prices are going to go up and up and up. And
Yes.
that is a problem for the American people for affordability, but it's also really a big problem for Republicans.
It's a political crisis for the Republican Party. They went along with Trump's lie that this was gonna be over in what he said, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something along those
4
lines,
weeks. Yeah,
and 4 weeks, and now it is stretching into months, and it's hard to see how, you get this over with before the midterms, and you're absolutely right. He did try to give away the store, didn't there was talk of hundreds of millions of dollars that the Gulf countries were gonna somehow open the floodgates to, which, did he go and talk to those countries about that beforehand, before making that kind of offer? So, I think one of the more interesting things that we're gonna have to watch for over the next couple of weeks is, where's Marco Rubio on this? Where's JD Vance on this? Because how do any of these 2028 hopefuls run for president if this is still on their backs? If this is still an albatross hanging
right.
around their necks? It's a huge problem.
It doesn't make any sense. And the other
Yeah.
thing that I'm struck by in this moment is the question of what Trump does to change the subject. And
Yeah.
so, like, there's a theory of the case. I don't know how much weight to give it, but that Donald Trump really did start this war because he was wanting to distract from the Epstein files.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I definitely think that that's a huge part of this. I would not be surprised if that was one of the gears turning in his head. I also think, look to what they were there was some reporting, that later on this week, on Thursday night in prime time, that Trump wanted to give this prime time address. I think MS Now was reporting that it was going to be on his batshit election,
I,
conspiracy theories,
I'm not sure
but not
MS
on
Now.
Iran.
I'm not sure MS Now ever ran it down, but there were
Yeah.
it was definitely online.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, the fact that he wants to go and talk about that stuff rather than this war that he's gotten himself totally, bear trapped into is a very telling sign.
But I also think it's possible that I mean, there's also, like, the thing that Trump world does famously is that they pitch something, people go, "Oh, no, you can't do that," and then he's like, "I was never gonna do that, libtard," right? I mean, you've seen that,
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
you
I
know?
think I think he puts out these trial balloons, he goes on Fox and I mean, look at the stuff that he has been saying over the last, 24 hours or 48 hours since the passing of Lindsey Graham. I mean, he
Yeah.
went and did, the rounds, and it appears a lot of these networks made deals with him where they would only ask him about Lindsey Graham, and then he proceeds to talk about the Save America Act and all of these different things, and then when the reporter or the anchor tries to ask about other things, he gets all huffy about it. But he was on with Greg Kelly talking about, his racehorse theory as it relates to Lindsey Graham. I mean, this stuff is, at some point we got, and this goes back to the reflecting pool. At some point, we have to have the conversation, the 25th Amendment conversation. As adults, grown-ups in this country, this is the emperor has no marbles.
Speak for
We're
yourself. The
yeah,
racehorse theory. We need a minute on the racehorse theory. The racehorse theory is that you are the same as your parents. And
yes,
so how you die will be the same as how your parents die.
yes,
Okay. In a truly insane theory with no medical or anything.
nothing.
But my favorite part of the story is that, like, Donald Trump's parents both had dementia.
Right, and his father was a son of a bitch, there's that too,
I mean, but
I mean,
it's an insane way to the racehorse. Why is it
and a
called a
racist.
racehorse?
It has I think he explained that, if you have, 2 really good racehorses and you breed them, then you end up with a much faster racehorse. I mean, it's that kind of it's
It's
eugenics.
eugenics. Okay, just
It's,
checking.
it's stuff out of the Third Reich,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy batshit bananas stuff. And he has I did a little bit of a deep dive on this morning because I can't believe he said this last night, and he has been saying this for years. He has been saying this kind of stuff for years. He has used that term, the racehorse theory, I think going all the way back to, like, as far as I could tell, 2007 with Larry King or something like that.
I
So this is
mean,
who he is.
yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, it is incredible. What I really want to talk to you about is two things.
Mm.
First, they drain the reflecting pool. So, as our reflecting pool correspondent,
Yes.
we need to get
Yes.
into the serious stuff here. You have been at the reflecting pool.
I have, and thank you for that promotion to
Yes.
reflecting pool correspondent. I'm now a man about town, I
Yes.
just go and show it with
Ta
my cell phone and record things like a
in
crackpot.
the 80-degree humidity,
But what
80% humidity.
But one of the
Go.
things that I love about this story is that it so neatly crystallizes how much of a crazy, stupid liar he is. Exhibit A is the reflecting pool. He has been saying for weeks that there's a 350-foot gash down the middle of the reflecting pool. And because the reflecting pool is such a hot mess that has been screwed up by his no bid contractors, they've got to drain it and fix it again. And
Aren't
then
they
by draining
called
it,
green water? Green
they were
water?
called green water, and it was
Yes.
a
Yeah.
Trump donor who has a house near Mar-a-Lago and all these things. But
Yeah.
then they drain the reflecting pool, and in doing so, they expose what a giant liar he is. Because when I went down there this morning, there is no 350-foot gash. There are no slash marks. There are no signs of major vandalism, anything approaching what he's been saying. And all you see is splotchy paint along the bottom of the reflecting pool. So listen, this is yet again an example, and I don't know how they're going to mask this. What reflecting pool bottom paint they'll be using on Fox, but they're going to have to use several coats of it to cover up the fact that Trump has been lying through his teeth on this, which we knew. And
It
David Hearn, by the way, who was arrested for being accused of being a vandal, he should sue the shit out of all of them, including Donald Trump.
the Olympian who got
Yes.
arrested, and you had Judge Box of Wine up there being like, "We're gonna get him."
He should sue
Um,
her, he
he
should sue Donald Trump, he should sue all of them. There's no question about it. Doug Burgum,
um,
sue them all.
yeah, exactly. Now, I'd love you to talk to us for a minute. Besides the reflecting pool, which is incredible, there are other Trump projects going on in the District of Columbia. One is the fountains, which for some
Yes.
reason the water has turned brown.
Yeah, it there's some fountains that are okay, other fountains, they were okay, then they turn brown. It's sort of a dog's breakfast, but you have a whole panoply of rotten construction jobs all around DC. Of course, you have the East Wing, which is still it looks like a
How's that
hole in the ground.
going?
It looks like, a giant gaping wound in the middle of the nation's capital is what it looks like with a little bit of construction going on. You had the state fair where they built a mini Trump arch, and then you had
Which
all the caulking,
oozing,
like, oozing out of it and goops and all this stuff, and all
becoming
the
orange.
it was all bad.
Is
And
the
this is
state fair still going?
Oh, I think they finally put it out of its misery. I think when there was the tumbleweed going across the National Mall, I think they said, "That's it." Krusty the Clown came out and sang
Every
"Send in the Clowns." I think that was when they decided to, put it out of its
every
misery.
photo of the state fair is like 4 people looking lost. Like,
It's so bad. I know. Nobody understands this reference, but one of my very first reporting jobs in local television was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And while I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, The Simpsons did a
yeah,
TV show about how Bart Simpson and his buddies wanted to go to the World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then they got there and they find out that the World's Fair had occurred 14 years earlier in 1982 and that the Sun Sphere in Knoxville had been turned into a wig sphere and it was
mm,
full of unsold wigs. That is basically what the Great American State Fair became. It was like a Simpsons episode. It
of
was so
wigs.
sad. Of
Um,
wigs.
is Trump's name down now in the Kennedy Center on the Kennedy Memorial?
It is evidently down,
But no one
um,
can see it.
but
Why?
nobody can see it because they have the crazy tacky tarp up. And then over the weekend, Sheldon Whitehouse's office put out all these documents from these whistleblowers. They've been doing other renovation projects at the Kennedy Center and fucking them up too.
What?
And they
I'm
painted the
shocked.
pillars, and at the bottom of the pillars, there's all this rust. And then there's a reflecting pool over there that they tried to fix, and that looks like shit. And apparently, Trump was very involved in the process of fixing the Kennedy Center. You can't fix Iran, but somehow he's gonna fix the Kennedy Center.
He
Can we just not have him fix anything for a
it's
little
so
while?
we're gonna move on here to, Schrodinger's senator, but first, I
Yes.
would love you to I just wanna say he is a developer, but he doesn't seem like a very good developer,
No, and Molly, I mean, this is like the least surprising thing to anybody who's been in New York City. I mean, the New
ever.
Yorkers know this. If you I mean,
Yes,
just about every
correct.
New Yorker's like, let's go into Trump Tower for kicks. Let's just go look at it." And
Yeah,
then you go in, it's all this faded gold
it doesn't
stuff,
look
the
good,
gold
yeah,
and
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
look
look
good.
good. It looks like
Okay,
the
so
Penn
Ron and
Station,
on
bathroom, but anyway,
it's true. Ron and on, the Republican senator from the great state of Wisconsin, everyone's favorite,
keeps
does
getting
not
elected.
yeah, keeps getting elected, does not believe the Mitch McConnell photo. He
Wow.
said he just heard from a source that it was an older photo. I tend to not want to take my news from Ron and on, but here's a
Yeah.
Republican senator saying another Republican senator is faking.
Isn't that something? And who do we believe? Do we believe Ron Johnson or do we believe Scott Jennings? This is the world we inhabit now, you
Oh, that's
know?
the worst thing you've ever said to me.
You're
Do
welcome,
you
America.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
believe Scott Jennings or do you believe Ron Johnson? I believe Ron Johnson over Scott Jennings, I'm
I
sorry to
think I
tell
believe
you.
Ron Johnson over Scott Jennings. That's pretty scary. Why
Um,
I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry,
what
America, that those are our choices, but
when you see that photo of him, it looks like he's gotten a lot of filler and Botox.
yes, it does look like that. That's true.
So
But,
either he's
they're
very rested.
the people who provide those services are quite busy in Washington. I don't know if you know this, but
But he does seem like again, we are not here to have
yeah.
conspiracy theories. But you have a United States senator. He is brought off in an ambulance. He
Yeah.
disappears. He is 84 years old.
Yes.
And weeks later, he sends a statement and a picture.
Yeah, and he tried to hold up a newspaper or something so you could see that it was a sort of a modern day newspaper. I don't know, like, is Bigfoot alive? Where's Marilyn Monroe? These things
Yeah.
are I tend to believe I tend to think that they're not lying about Mitch McConnell, and of course, now that I've said that, I've totally screwed myself, and it probably is true that they are lying. But I am not to the point there yet where I'm thinking that a United States senator's office would be a part of some charade like that, but I don't know in this day and age, you
I mean,
know?
the question I think is more like I don't think he's dead. The
Yeah,
question is my man like, does he look like that normally, or did they just, like, prop him up, take all the
yeah.
tubes out to make him look? Because like, clearly
Got the makeup artist in there, good
yeah, I
lighting and
mean,
everything. Yeah,
that I
yeah.
think is more the question than, like, obviously, I don't think he's dead. I don't think I mean, that's the thing which Democrats who listen to this podcast, because most of the people who listen to this podcast are Democrats, though we get the occasional, like,
Hate
daily
listeners.
caller. Well, we get, like, the people watching it to
Oh,
clip
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Fox
Yeah,
does that with my thing.
right.
They do it
Yeah.
because they
Uh,
wanna get their little
yeah.
catnip stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't believe listen to what Jim Acosta said now. But
I do it for them.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. We all do it for them. But
yeah.
but but the I tend to believe that, and I think is important that these people are still pretty incompetent. Like they're
They're very
not.
incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very incompetent, but, listen, one of the other truisms here is that, you know, Senate offices, and their staffs and, over in the House, there's a little bit of this too. There is a
Right.
preservationist streak that runs through a lot of these staffers, and as soon
Di-fi.
as Mitch McConnell Dianne Feinstein was a classic example. I think, I mean, Chuck Grassley is 92. I looked that up. The guy is 92 years old, and
He's
he's still in
pretty
the Senate.
sharp though.
But I think that they will go to
And
great lengths
uh
to
he
keep these members
vacuums.
going because as soon as that members of
Right.
Congress is gone, they all lose their jobs, unless one of them can run for the congressional seat, which sometimes happens.
It's
But
true.
that is also a force in all of this that cannot be denied.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Jim Acosta,
Yes.
will you come back?
I'll come back anytime. Great to see. I'll be reporting from the reflecting pool anytime for you, Molly.
The gashless
The
reflecting pool.
the gashless. This just in. This is not CNN breaking news. No gash.